thank you everyone and welcome. I am your host today, and I think 95% of you already know me. So since you have undergone training program with me, and it's like being in the room the way we used to. So I'm myself a master certified coach with ICF, and also I am a master certified coach with Marshall Goldsmith Coaching. Trained close to 950 people for ICF last 7 8 years, and about 500 for Marshall. So that's the kind of space we come from. And the idea of this webinar is coming from celebrating coaching world over, which ICF does. So this is an ICF coaching week. And a part of that, we thought, let's also do some contribute a bit from our side. So this is that part from our side. We did one webinar on 9th, wherein we spoke about how a coach can build their credibility. What are the elements which go into building credibility for a coach? Today, we want to hear from some of the experts in this space who have been using coaching in their organization. So we really want to hear from them. What are they doing when it comes to coaching? Like what kind of, what inspires them to hire coaches? What is the need? What do they look for in a coach? So we have some certain questions which we are going to ask them and, and invite them to share their thoughts on each one of them. So they'll be like literally getting practical insights from them. And then towards the end of the program, we'll reserve about 12 to 15 minutes for Q&As. So that's the agenda for today, friends. With that, I'm going to start our journey, and I'm going to bring up each panelist one by one, introduce them to you. So I'm going to start with Vivek. So friends, Vivek is here with us, and welcome, Vivek.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So friends, Vivek heads human resource function for Kotak Bank. Over last 14 years at Kotak, he has been instrumental in several strategic initiatives of the organization, starting from merging entities, product lines, people structuring, to building processes and leadership teams across the various functions like branch banking and even the corporate bank. So he has also worked in multiple industries prior to this, like Eli Lilly, Lupin, and Genpact, and has an overall experience of 22 years. He's an ICF certified coach and a research scholar, and currently pursuing PhD in HR. Welcome, Vivek. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Just one correction. I don't head HR.
Okay.
Designation is head HR.
Wow. So you will have to tell us what's the difference then.
So yeah, fancy designations in the industry.
Okay.
Change labels.
Okay. I appreciate your honesty. Thank you so much. So I'm going to now introduce you to the next panelist here, Ranjeeka. So Ranjeeka comes with 20 plus years of rich and diverse experience in the HR domain. After working with organizations like Yamaha Motor Company, Gap Incorporation, etc., she currently works with the world's largest Alco-Bev company, where she has been working for close to 15 years now. Currently, she is heading D&I, talent management, L&D, R&R, South Asia for that organization, and is responsible for inclusion and diversity, performance management, learning and development, employee engagement, rewards and recognition, employee policies and processes, and global licensing for South Asia, and business partner to corporate functions for Gulf and Lanka. So that's her current role. So I'm going to invite Ranjika to say hi to all the audience here. Hi, Ranjika, and welcome.
Hi, Inderjeet. Thanks for having me over. And hello, everyone. Really happy to be a part of the webinar.
Thank you so much. And we really look forward to learning from all of you. The next panelist on our today's guest list is Gaurav Saluja. Gaurav heads L&D function in a large MNC, which is a financial organization. And Gaurav brings a broad range of experience in training, coaching, organizational development, etc. And he has been recognized for his transformative breakthrough ideas because he has designed, implemented, and led best-in-class leadership, mentoring, change management, career development, employee and customer engagement programs, etc. for this Fortune 500 company. He is an ICF certified coach. He's a Marshall Goldsmith certified coach. He's Belbin UK team roles accredited, and he has certification from Harvard Leadership. He's also certified Green Belt, TMP trained, and SQL and SAS certified. Welcome, Gaurav. I'm going to invite you to say hi to the group.
Thank you, Inder. Very happy to be here. And again, as I would say, it's an honor to be here to connect with people and make sure we talk about coaching, which is what I'm very passionate about. So thank you for having me here, Inder and Gaurav.
Thank you. And our last speaker panelist for the day is Mr. V. Krishnan, a very, very experienced professional in this space. So, Mr. V. Krishnan brings a rich and diverse experience in areas like human capital management, business processes, quality, knowledge management, and HR tech, and has worked with various Indian multinationals and MNCs like Havells, Dabur, Whirlpool, Xerox, and Aisher. He was the CHRO at Havells and Dabur and is currently playing the same role at a very well known FMCG. He's an ICF certified coach, Marshall Goldsmith certified coach, and also certified with Hogan assessments. So, friends, today we have such a diverse experience and so many, eminent panelists with us who are highly qualified. Also, they have an experience and they're also highly qualified in this space. So, I'm going to start with our session by asking these guys some questions. But before that, I'm going to invite Mr. Krishnan to say hi to the group.
Thanks, Inder. Wonderful to be back on the panel along with you. And coaching has always been an area of interest for me, and I have my own experiences, both as when to roll it out in an organization, being coached myself. So it's a topic very close to my heart, and thank you very much for being here, and look forward to contributing and learning from other panelists.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Krishnan, for being here. So when we created this, when we first conceived this whole webinar and thought of it, we had certain questions in our mind which we thought we will ask our panelists. And one of the questions was related to changes that have happened in the leaders in the post-pandemic world. But then, as I'm thinking right now, I think that we all have been through a lot of webinars and we've seen a lot of stuff being spoken about that. So I'm going to skip that question and go right into a question that relates to coaching. So my first question, and any one of you could answer, is what role coaching is playing or can play in the current scenario in organizations? So who would like to start?
I could go first.
Okay, Ranjeeka, go ahead.
So coaching is a very integral part, and I feel that the organization, which is a top management, needs to believe in the entire process, and by believing in it means that they need to ensure that they have identified the right people for the process, and the people are receptive to the coaching as well, because if you openly kind of say that here is a person and here's the coach, please start the coaching process, that will not go anywhere. It has to start from an objective, and the organization and the person who's being coached need to be receptive with a certain objective in mind, with a time frame in mind as well. And as an organization, I think it's important to set the right examples and set the right tone to ensure that it is taken positively in the times to come. That's how I would look at it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ranjeeka. Mr. Krishnan, since you are unmuted.
Well, just to add to what Ranjeeka said, what I would say is, post-pandemic, one realization that a lot of leaders have come to is, that earlier I think a lot of leaders were highly task-focused. Typically, if you look at the task versus people grid, people were generally more task-focused, leaders especially. I think the pandemic has taught them that, or at least made them realize, that the people dimension of their leadership is equally important. And because a lot of people have been through a lot in that close 2 years, and people are not willing to compromise on certain things beyond work, which are very close to their heart. And especially if you're leading a slightly younger team, a younger Gen Y or a Gen Z kind of community. So I think a lot of leaders are struggling with this transition. How do I achieve that task-people balance? Because the classical paradigm has been that a good leader is one who leads from the front, who is kind of trailblazing, trend-setting, task-focused, delivery-focused. So that paradigm is getting challenged very severely now. And many of them are kind of slightly struggling with reorienting themselves. I think that's where I think coaching can play very important.
Okay, thank you. That's really powerful. Vivek?
Yeah, so I not related to pandemic, but overall scenario, the way I see it now, that the maturity level of the youngsters that we are seeing, or people who are joining new. So we had that famous old model of the subordinate maturity model, and the leader adjusting the style based on the maturity model. I think that is shifting very fast. Today, the subordinates move very fast to being a friend. And in that model also, the fourth quadrant is about a leader becoming a coach finally, or a friend to the individual. I think the transition of a person who's moving from stage 1 to stage 4 is very, very quick these days. These are very, very smart people that we are dealing with. And that is where leaders today find it a struggle how to deal with these people when they don't have coaching skills. I think the question today that I'm seeing inside Kotak, the main ask is that can my managers be better coaches? So we started off this journey in the organization, I remember some 10, 12 years back, where we had an issue with the manager and we tried to resolve it through the coaching intervention, to where leaders wanted life coaches for themselves and we gave them coaches individually. And now we are saying, no, the manager himself has to be a coach. And can the coaching fraternity train them as coaches? I think that is the transition I'm seeing as I'm proceeding in the future.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. And that's definitely another question which I had on my mind, and I'm going to pick other people's brains on that as well as we go forward. But Vivek, that's very well said that every leader needs to be a coach because the change is happening very fast. People are changing. Not only that transition is happening for people from one level to the level of being a friend, etc. But even the business environment is changing at a very fast pace, right? So the challenges which we faced for business earlier are very different today. So a coach is someone who is more flexible in his approach and is able to adapt, right? So that's the angle which we bring in. Thank you. And Gaurav, over to you, staying with the previous question.
So I think I will start with few years back, 5 years back, maybe in there when I came to you to say let's talk about coaching to where we are. I think there's a clear demarcation between coaching, mentoring, training, and counseling, which I think the industry and the companies and the organizations are understanding. And all of them have a very different role to play. I also think, the fact that things have changed, few things that I've been able to see is that coaching is very specific. And we are able to, our investments are now saying for companies that I'm talking about, we are investing in coaching for high pots. Now we want these coaches to focus on high potential leadership, like executive coaching that we're talking about. There's also a specific focus on not just the process, what you're doing, the BAU work, but it's also beyond a broader remit to understand the long-term career objectives that people are assigning coaches for. And similarly, that's just not at the top notch or the top people, the top of the pyramid, but also at the bottom level, we are saying that we probably need to try coaching, which can help us meet the objective of what we want. As we say, coaching always works is what I can start to see. I've been seeing it for the last few years now. And more importantly, it's all about the client or the coachee, as we call it. And that is a big change, which I think has driven in the past in the organizations, and companies now have coaching profiles versus earlier it was all clubbed into training and learning organization. So that's what I would say. That's the effect of coaching over the last few years that I have seen in our companies, which is evolving.
Excellent. So Gaurav, I must say that so you reminded me of the program. Coaching works always, and it is all about the client. Are our slogans as grow more coaches? Yeah, thank you. But
I'm
I would like
learner.
Yeah, and you remember it, right? Excellent. So this is all this. What I am trying to understand is, and I'm really happy and excited about it because I became a coach in 2009, and that time our for the first 5-7 years, our biggest challenge was to explain people the difference between coaching, mentoring, training, counseling, consulting, right? And I'm sure all of you guys, all four panelists over here would agree with Gaurav what he said. The distinction is very clear now in the organizations, and this is a good news for us as coaches that our clients really understand what is what. I mean, you don't have to go and explain them again and again what it is. So they really understand what coaching is and what it is not, and therefore their expectations are also quite right size, which I believe is a good news from the industry point of view. You also spoke about that while you started coaching with high pots, but then now you're thinking of percolating down the line, going to the lower levels as well, which is again a very good news, I must say. And plus also the fact that as an organization, which again ties back to what Vivek and Mr. Krishnan had said, that as an organization, the focus is not only on the process or the objectives, but also on the human being. Like, what are their long-term career objectives? So organizations are okay to hire coaches helping their leaders focus on their long-term career objectives as well, not only the business goals. So which is also really powerful. Thank you. And I think these are the 3-4 points that I would like to conclude from this question that we raised to our esteemed panelists over here. So, friends, my questions to you guys are going to be. I'm a spokesperson for the other audience here, and all the rest of the audience is all coaches, right? So we want to get answers to our questions, right? So my question is, when you want to start coaching intervention in your organization, how do you prepare for that so that you get maximum from any kind of a coaching engagement that you run? What are the kind of steps you take for it, or are there certain criteria you have? What is it, Mr. Krishnan?
Yeah, I'll make an attempt.
Mhm.
I'll share from my experience in one of the earlier organizations. I think, as Inderjeet very rightly said, in many organizations, what is coaching? What does it bring to the table? There's still a lot of mishmash of those understanding.
Okay.
So typically, what I've tried to do is that if I find a situation where a person will benefit from coaching, and I normally try to engage with that person's boss or leader and give him some, one-on-one explanation and concepts, and maybe even some reading material or some YouTube videos, and kind of make the leader first get some perspective on what coaching is and how it can benefit this particular individual, and then maybe do some joint thinking along with that person, and because the leaders and managers buy-in is very important. It cannot be seen as a HR organization's agenda, because I mean, now things have improved. There was a time when you recommended somebody for a coaching intervention, it was almost perceived as sending him to a shrink or something. So once the leader has kind of bought into the concept, and then along with the leader, one tries to share with the individual, because obviously you've identified a need. Either he's a hypot and he's trying to. We feel that there could be some barriers for him to grow. Sometimes, and most situations that I've seen is people, when there is a problem, there's a high performing guy, but he has some people management issues and things like that. That's when people think about coaching. Now that's a good starting point, but it's also a very dangerous route to take, because then people perceive coaching as only reformatory.
Right.
So therefore, one tries to look at fertile opportunities where we think it will work. Take the leader on board, educate and help them understand the concept. Take the prospective coachee on board, try to explain to them how this works. In fact, I once even made a coachee meet another person who has been through the process for him to understand how it actually works and things like that. And then initiate a mechanism. In fact, in one thing, what we also did was we started this concept of a zero session with when we had done everything and we had identified a coach. There's still a lot of tentativeness because of doing, so we said, you have a zero session. Both of you talk to each other over a cup of coffee at a neutral venue. If you both feel that, you're comfortable with each other, there's a chemistry, you think, then we will kick off the process. So I think the initial preparatory phase of getting buy-in from everyone on the concept and the belief that it works,
right,
it is very important for it to succeed. That's what I would say.
Thank you. So one point that I'm taking away is that you want to educate the prospective coachee whom you're going to coach, and also you want to ensure that they really get it and they see the benefit. They're bought into the whole process, right? That's one thing that you want to ensure.
Including the leader. I mean, starting with the leader, because unless the
leader the
boss sponsors it.
Okay, his boss as well. So the person who you're getting coached and his boss also need to be bought into the process.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's a nice one. Ranjeeka, would you like to add something to that?
Yes, absolutely. And thanks a lot, Mr. Krishnan. I, in fact, was just reminded of an incident that happened to me many years back, where one of the leaders, where I did a leadership assimilation session, and as a result of that, we said that the person should be assigned a coach, and that is when I got all the backlash from the leader, saying that it was almost sounded like the person was being given a shrink. So we had to kind of handle the situation appropriately, because that is not what the objective was. And from our learnings, we've reached to a situation where, like you mentioned appropriately, it's important for a buy-in to happen from the coachee and the manager. And also a very important point is to have the objective of having the coach also predefined. because it can't be left astray where they lead into no direction, while the coach is mature enough to kind of handle the situation in a way that they will probe in a way which leads to the eventual goal, and may not sound as so specific, but from an organization perspective, it's important to have that objective so that at the end of the tenure.
Okay, so friends, we got 2 points on the board. One is educating a prospective client and his boss, and then also portraying coaching more as a developmental tool rather than a remedial measure of sorts, right? And I think Ranjeeka was also trying to point out, have a clear objective for coaching, like what are the results expected. Am I right, Ranjeeka?
Yes, absolutely. The goal should be
Right.
clear in the
Yeah.
beginning.
What results do you want? That should be defined in the beginning. Vivek, what more can you add to this?
I think there are 2 stages. If you are entering into an organization, there are 2 stages that you can get into. One is that the organization has not tested waters on coaching ever. I think that is a difficult one, because then you have to identify somebody who is a coach in the company, has to propagate the envelope and look at few cases here and there whom you can, coach and show results to the company. I think, but now, as far as Kotak is concerned, the maturity level is so high that people come forward and say, why don't I have a coach? And the work that HR people typically are involved in is ensuring that the right coach gets attached to the right leader out there.
Yeah, Vivek, I think the point I'm taking away is that one of the HR's job is to find the right coach for the right client.
I think that right now, as the organization matures, it is more about the chemistry of the coach versus the coachee, and that is what you try to configure and ensure that it works. Okay. I think the organizations moves away from the questions of ROI, return, and there is an immediate impact. I think the fact that the leader is able to think wider than what they have thought ever before, I think that opportunity itself is very mesmerizing. And you see changes in the organization just because the leader is thinking differently now than what the leader was thinking earlier.
Yeah,
I think we can rest the whole thing at that itself.
Excellent. That's really a very good point.
I will just add one more point to what Vivek said. On ROI, one indicator that I found very useful in one of the coaching interventions that I did in an organization, the person who got coached, his 360-degree feedback report from the pre-coaching to post-coaching, there was a dramatic improvement. Dramatic is the word. So someone has asked a question on ROI.
Right.
So I would say from a data point matrix, I think 360 could be a very good indicator of the effect of coaching.
Okay, so ROI was my question on my agenda anyhow, which we would have asked. So I'm going to play with both the questions, but I would like to first address the one which we had addressed earlier so that the audience doesn't get confused here. The point which Vivek has raised is really, really excellent. And I think I would say that is really a very good news for the coaches here. Most of the time, as coaches, we are thinking of how do we show the ROI to our potential clients, right? And the point is that when you go to a mature organization, so when I say mature in terms of coaching, an organization which is mature in terms of coaching, their expectations are not really the tangible numbers. They're already not expecting that. So their expectations are broader evolution of their leaders, growth of their leaders, because they realize that when their leaders grow and they become better, the numbers would anyways improve. And there's no need to really create that link because it is anyways happening. Am I right, Vivek? Is that the point you're making, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. That's really powerful. Coming back to organizations who are not yet too mature in terms of coaching, Mr. Krishnan's concept of pre and post assessment can be a nice way to measure ROI, right? To demonstrate in a tangible way. So you could do some kind of an assessment before the coaching and the similar assessment post the coaching engagement is over, 6 months, 1 year long, and then you could do that, right? So, yes, Gaurav.
Sorry, I just want to add, I think I really liked Vivek's point here. One other thing I will tell you which worked for us or worked for me when I was thinking about this, when we go to a company or a let's say a set of leadership, we go and say we want to talk about coaching. I think we need to create some menu cards, which worked for me, just sharing that. Like, when I started off, I said I want to do coaching, it was not very well accepted. It took me a while to even maneuver through that process. But when I started to say coaching is not about just coaching, we're talking about now leadership development. through coaching. We're talking about performance improvement as we talk about through coaching. We're talking about transition support, right? There's so much of change management that happens and you need a coach during that process. You're talking about skill development. We also tried saying coaching is also a motivator, right? Where we're taking an employee into an engagement and kind of engage the employees, because it's not for everybody that we are throwing it out. So that became like something which was very well received, saying today a coaching is utilized as the fact, as I said, top of the pyramid, people are getting coaching. Why am I not getting? What is it that I missed? So people are starting to ask for coaches in any organization culture. So instead of saying coaching as a broad term, and when I started, I was just talking about executive coaching, team coaching, keeping it at that level, but breaking and slicing it down into different buckets is something which was very easily adaptable. So there are places where a support team want to focus on performance management coaching, whereas if you want to talk about large scale operations, they want to choose the top tier, as you talk about the skill development coaching. So again, just to quickly wrap this up in there for you, but I think that is the other piece I think should be thought about as you're thinking about bringing coaching. Just not leave it at the high level, but make that menu card as you get into a restaurant and say, you choose if you want to, and we will deliver the service.
Okay, excellent. That's really powerful thought. Coaches, I hope you guys are listening. This is what you need to do. Link your service. Don't call it just coaching. Link it with some results that you are. So your client has a pain point, or your client has some results they expect. So relate coaching to that. Tell them, look, this is what coaching is going to do for you, and have a menu card of sorts, like Gaurav's language on that. So yeah, it's a good thought. And as a good coach, staying true to my objective, Gaurav, you have to still answer the question of when you think of engaging with the coaching interventions in your organization, what are the certain criteria that you'd really look forward to? I have got 4 on my list already. One, trying to educate the person who's getting coached about what coaching is, and his leader as well, his or her leader as well. Second, showcasing it as a developmental tool. Third, making sure that objectives are clear, what is expected. And then Vivek said that identifying the right coach for the right client. So what do you think, in your experience, should be the criteria?
That's the menu card, as I said. If I attach that in the 5th item, that's worked for me at least.
Okay.
So that's what I respond. Yep.
So when you're about to start an engagement, is there anything else that you think about? Any criteria, any factor?
I think the first piece is, of course, you have to listen to what the expectation. You have to understand the problem statement, what's going on, and that's the first and the foremost. As we would do, and I'm talking from a learning and development perspective as well. This is basically your need analysis, right? What is it that's really going on has to be thought through, which is linked to the 360. But this is what you need to understand on what's going on in the organization. So, for example, right now, a lot of people are going through the retrenchment piece on how people are being laid off. So, is there something we can do when we go out there? Versus saying, we want to do some level of coaching. So I think the level of understanding of that is, I think, one of the most important thing, and then kind of creating a solution or providing different solutions is what I would say has worked and would recommend.
Okay, thank you. That's powerful. Identify the need is the next point, which you very nicely explained to us. Thanks. With that, I'm going to move to my next question, which is, again, what today's audience is looking an answer for. When you guys think of hiring an external coach, what do you really look for in the profile of the coach? Ranjeeka, I'm going to start with you first.
Sure, Inderjeet. Yeah. Absolutely. So when we're looking at a new coach, so while certifications, of course, hold a huge value for us to kind of, have that confidence in the coach that we're going ahead with, but experience is something that I would hold true importance to. Because that will drive how the person can deal with the kind of leaders, and also we look at similar mindset of the employees, from what kind of leaders have they coached, and if that culture and values gels well with our organization. I would also kind of go back a bit and see that how flexible and adaptable those people are in terms of dealing with our own employees, and again, going back to culture and values is what I would kind of stop by and think.
Okay,
before selecting.
Right. Okay, thank you so much. You said certifications are important, but experience and their similar mindset of the coach and the client, so some kind of a chemistry matchup is also important over there.
Yeah, and also I would like to share one experience of mine. One of our leaders who joined in some time back, a recommendation from her for other leaders kind of held high value for me, because I was seeing her as a live example in front of me, and she recommending her coach for the other leaders in the organization.
Wow.
That kind of helped me build a better trust on the new coach.
That's powerful. Coaches, it's no rocket science. This is how we sell any service. So recommendations, testimonials, they are very important. So go back to your clients where you have served already and get your recommendations and testimonials from them. Gaurav, I'm going to come to you, reversing the order. Then I'll go to Vivek and then Mr. Krishnan this time. Gaurav?
Yeah, I think besides, so I was making notes. I think a couple of things as Ranjeeka kind of mentioned. One is the background of the coach, which is around coaching and what the person was doing with his overall experience that I would look for. The credentials. I think I also look for specialization. These days, I do see coaches have some specialization that they have done. Teenager coaching, what kind of coaching are you doing? That's the other piece that you'd want to probably highlight and look at. His or her own development, professional development, and how that has done with coaching levels. Some of us have really gone ahead and started to take coaching to the next level completely. So that also adds a little bit of a feather in the cap as I look at it. And Ranjika's point on feedback, I actually would want to go and probably, if through the process, if I'm hiring, want to let you hear it from the coachee on what the experience was with the coach. So it's not the feedback from the coach or sorry, a recommendation from the coach, but the coach's recommendation also is something. If you're serious, if you're hiring people, I think that's what I would want to probably keep in mind too, and get that, because that will tell us, to your point, Ranjeeka, the adaptability to the culture on how somebody will come and assess and be a part of this organization.
Okay, great. Thank you, Gaurav. Vivek?
So first thing, that people who do not get selected in the episode of being shortlisted, I would say that it is never about their capability or why they are not selected. Yeah, I think the important part of coaching as a process is about rapport building with the individual, and people who have more versatile backgrounds. Our belief is that they are able to develop faster rapport with the employees, because there's something that they'll hold common out there. Having said that, while references do work, and people who start stabilizing, they start mining in the organization, because that could, it just keeps multiplying in the organization. But there are many more coaches who get appointed on a continuous basis. I also find that people who have higher level of certification like MCC, they are also welcomed more. But depending upon what type of coaching assignment, what type of coaches you are dealing with out there, you allocate the person out there. Also, group coaching is catching up these days.
Wonderful.
So group coaching also could be one of the areas that has the person been experienced to group coaching and what could happen around that. But I think the capacity to build rapport, capacity to listen and build rapport with the client, with the coachee is the critical thing.
Wonderful. Thank you, Vivek. And I must kind of compliment you on your empathy. The way you started, not getting shortlisted doesn't have to necessarily do with your skill. That was nice. I like that. So what comes out is higher levels of credentials work beautifully, recommendations and references work beautifully. Rapport, ability to build rapport with a person is definitely very powerful. And having a versatile background is some of the criteria which people look for. Group coaching is something which is in nowadays. Have any kind of a specialization, getting your niche also makes sense for coaches. And continuously, so Gaurav said, professional development, like you need to continually keep learning and evolving your own self as a coach. So, Mr. Krishnan, do you think there is any other point you want to add, or have we covered all?
Yeah, I'll just give another. I mean, most of the points that you said are very valid, whichever in my mind. But I'll just share some challenges that I have faced while selecting coaches. Handling biases within the organization, because when once you get the coach and this manager and all bought into the process, there are a lot of biases. One is the person should be from my industry. Then the second is he should be from the corporate side. We don't want an academician or someone who is not from the corporate side. Then the third bias is that age bias. I mean, in this case, it works more favorably towards people who have higher on the age brackets. So so there are a lot of these biases within the organization. So I think my challenge has always been to handle these biases and try to tell people that, look, these are not necessarily important parameters. That's what one dimension I would add.
Right. Thank you. So, and that is a very powerful dimension. And I think if we can get an answer to that, and I'm going to bring that question back to the panelists here. I'm seeking your advice, all four of you, because you are on one side of the table, you are decision makers, and we as external coaches are on the other side. And this is definitely, we understand that if you want to hire a coach, people look, okay, is he from the same industry, or does he have a operational background, or is he from a HR space, or is it, is he younger than me or elder than me, how much work experience, etc., etc. So what is one advice each four of you would give to us as coaches, how to overcome these biases how to change the perception of our prospective clients about these biases? So, Mr. Krishnan, since you are unmuted, one tip for that. I'll need one tip from all four of you, one each. How do we address this biases?
Yeah, I'll just take one example. There was this classic case of a coach which the person was younger than the coachee. The person was not from the corporate world at all. He was. So finally, what we did was that we made this coach and his manager interact with people whom this person has coached. After, of course, permission and the coach's permission, the prospective coach's permission, and he only gave the names. He gave them 7-8 names, and they said you pick up whomever you want. So they had detailed interaction and this thing. And I think at the end of the day, what works best is making them talk to people whom the coach has worked with earlier. And once we were able to get a success with that coach who didn't check any of the boxes, then I think the paradigm got broken that these are but there are strong biases. One needs to have that staying power to fight against these biases. It's not easy, especially in a corporate world. It's not easy.
Yeah. No, so Mr. Krishnan, the way you presented it from your side of the story, what I'm taking away from our side of the story as coaches is that in such cases, when you are young or you're starting, or you're not from that industry, then make people talk to some of your existing or older clients. That would help. That's one tip, that I'm taking from the conversation.
Well, I'm just thinking on my feet right now. One way could be to just offer couple of free sessions to begin with.
Okay.
Just say that. Let's experience how the journey goes. Let's have 3-4 sessions and figure out whether it's working for both of us or not.
Okay.
It's a zero risk. It's a zero risk situation for the client.
Yeah. So for want of time, I'm going to be quick. Vivek, one tip.
So it is absolutely a bias in the mind of the coach, Inderjeet, according to me.
Excellent. Get coached. Okay, excellent. Thank you. That's a good tip.
The thing that the organization has in their mind, their maturity level. I think the organization understands that preference is to not have people with the backgrounds.
Okay.
Be more independent and widen the scope of people who can be a coach. I think the coach carries a lot of things in their mind.
So Vivek, I'm actually deriving 2 points from what you just said. One, that it could be a bias in the coach's mind. So you sort it out, get coached yourself. And second, showcase your weakness, so-called weakness, as a strength to your client. Look, that I am not from the industry actually is better for your client.
Yeah.
Right. So showcase it like that. I like that. Thank you. Gaurav, 1 point.
So I think the client or the company has an uneducated bias. So we need to educate the client on this.
Right.
And that's what I would say. That's the most important thing. You can have your bias and you would probably again do that by explaining what coaching is. A lot of these times people don't know coaching, and the best way to handle this is, how will you do this for us in this organization? You're not in the financial sector. You're an FMCG guy. How will this kind of, leap? And again, you are 10 years younger than my executive team that you want to talk to. So all of that has to be handled by educating them what it is. And then, as Krishnan said, let's just make sure we give them a pro bono, right? Give them free coaching sessions to see. You tried yourself, we'll not charge you. But if we do, then we'll charge you double.
Right. Oh, okay. Well, that's a debatable part. But I agree with that. Like, there's a concept of no growth, no pay. If you are trying to establish your coaching practice and you want to get into some space where you're not making headway, you could always offer your client, hey, I'm going to do entire engagement free for you. If your client gets results, then pay me. I mean, that really shows how competent and confident you are about your abilities. Okay, Ranjeeka, 1 point from you.
I think I agree with everyone, and nothing additional. I would just like to reiterate what Mr. Krishnan mentioned, that it's important to have the references in place, because references is one thing that holds coaches to continue.
A lot of sway for in the client
and
mind.
gives
Okay.
and gives confidence.
Thank you so much. So, friends, I could have asked 1 or 2 more questions, but we are running out of time, and I want to do a bit of Q&A session around all the questions that you guys have asked. Now, I believe that I have asked some good questions for all of us, all the coaches out here. Garima, any particular question that you want to highlight here? Please ask so that we can have a conversation around that before. And while you look at it, I want to answer Harsh's question. Harsh, I think over here we are all external coaches, most of us. So how to start a coaching practice in your organization may not be falling under the preview of today's conversation, right? So I'm going to share that with you. Yeah. Garima, you have a question ready?
Yeah. So one question is by Mr. Pradeep Nitrajan. That is there a particular selection criteria that a new executive coach interested to partner with your organization? If that is so, then what it is? And does this criteria look different for executive coaches for leaders and those for managers?
Okay. The question is, like, what is the criteria that a new coach, like that organization who wants to hire a new coach has? Is that the question, Pradeep?
Yeah, this is the question. That's for a new coach interested to partner. I believe half of this has already been answered. So does this criteria look different for executive coaches for leaders and those for managers? So maybe he's asking that, is there a criteria that are different for leaders and senior managers, or senior leaders and managers?
Okay, I'm going to only ask Vivek to answer that. Maybe we can take another question in the meantime. Vivek, would you like to answer that? Is the
very quickly, answer is yes to that. Senior leaders require more versatile thinking, more idea generation. They are harder nuts to crack.
Okay.
So some way to deal with that than more younger managers who are more easier to deal with.
Okay. All right. So another question was, any tips as to how to break the ice in a new organization where the coach may not be known yet, or doesn't know the leadership level or final decision makers? I think we have covered quite a bit of that already. Okay, while you guys have typed in the questions in the chat box, anybody wants to unmute and ask a question?
Yeah, hi, Mr. Vivek, for you. You did mention about group coaching taking place now rapidly. So a little more about that in case one needs to go ahead with that. Is there anything else that we need to do?
Group coaching typically has some agenda behind, some objective behind that you cater to, but capability to hold the group together, I think, is important. So there is no different criteria as far as coaching is concerned, or the method of coaching is concerned, except that holding more people together and the confidence of the coach to hold more people together is what plays out. Okay. I've seen new coaches who have never done group coaching also playing well in that area. Right. Some concepts around that Inderjeet can add probably more process-driven issues that are there in this.
Right. Yeah, of course. So that group coaching, we need to be a little more sensitive to the audience, because they're a group of people and there could be different skill set, but it's worth trying. File, that's for you. Okay, Sulina, you have raised hand. Go ahead. Then I'll go to Sina.
Yeah, so I just want to ask, like as a coach, when I'm going in and making my pitch, to be hired, what are the kind of pain points that actually lead an organization to think about coaching? So, I can incorporate that in my pitch, and how I can give them, kind of coaching can help them with a solution on that. So any pain points, that the organization reaches, or any development goals that the organization reaches when they want to hire the coach?
I'll quickly go with that. One very sharp point, Sulina, in this is new idea generation is the biggest challenge in the industry. And I think coaching works brilliantly in that area. So if the coaches pitch that very strongly, that coaching helps to create and think beyond, it works.
Yeah, and Sulina, I'd like to add one or two more points to the question. One is what Gaurav has said today. Try to link coaching to the results that organization can experience. So create your own menu for them.
Yeah.
And one learning which comes to me from Frank Wagner from the webinar we did on 9th was that that you
Right.
should study about your client. What are they doing?
Yes.
When you study about them, you'll
Yes.
probably get some insights about what could be there. And I like you to rephrase your words from pain points to the results they are expecting. That'll be a better
Yeah.
way to say.
Which is why I said development goals.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
did realize that pain points was a little
Yes.
in the negative domain.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for realizing that.
Yeah.
Mr.
Thank you,
Sriram.
Vivek. Thanks, Inderjeet.
Welcome.
Yeah, my question is, what we are finding in organizations, they are considering coaching is also like a T&D. So when the budget comes, the cut is immediately on these coaches also. But many organizations are not considering coach. The cost benefit of coaching is very different. And follow up on this question is that how much of these Indian corporates they are ready for a credentialed coach, because they expect the coaches like us who are credentialed to be a motivation speaker also. So I would like to know about that.
Mr. Sriram, I'm going to repeat what you said of what I understood, and you can correct me on that. What I understood is that organizations, how do they perceive it? Like a lot of organizations, the first place where they'll cut the budgets is training and coaching and stuff like that, right? Okay, let me ask Mr. Sriram to say what you have said in one line, please.
Yeah, how much?
Sorry.
Yeah, how much the coaching is picking up in India, in the Indian corporate world?
So I'll ask that question very precisely for all three of you. So how much you think? How many times you have your coaching spent, the money that you spend on coaching as an organization? So we have 4 people heading large function in each large organizations. What has been your spend increase from last 3, 4, 5 years? If you can share some insights, Gaurav, on coaching.
I would say there was no case of coaching in the organization that I am in where we didn't talk about it 5 years back. So, it was there, but it must be at the, top of the top, the CEO and one level below.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's gone up at least 500% because we're talking about now at a director level coaching happening. So the world has really changed and investment is really high. But I'm talking about so I know you asked us for an Indian company. So I'll just be clarifying that one.
So yeah, so you're working in an international company. So you say it's 500% since 2018, 19 till now in last 5 years.
That's right.
Thank you, Vivek.
I'll give you a percentage of the total training budget, which used to be, I would say, around 4%, 5% earlier.
Mm-hmm.
That has at least jumped to around 25 to 30% of the total training budget is going into coaching and to coaches.
And that is over last how many years?
Over last around 4 to 5 years.
Excellent. That's really, really motivating. Okay, Mr. Krishnan, do you have any numbers for that? And Ranjeeka, you are up for next.
Well, I what I would say is, frankly, at least the industry I was in the peak of COVID, all L&D and all people investment budgets had come to a freeze. I think we didn't have such a great story. Okay. So, but now I think at least from April 22 onwards, things have started improving again.
Okay.
So it's kind of coming back to where it was pre-COVID. That's what I would broadly say.
So that's good news again in that case.
Yeah.
Ranjeeka?
So for us, it was actually a couple of years back, 0% to, I would say about 15 to 20% right now.
15 to 20% of your training budget?
Of the total budget, yes.
Okay. Wow. So these are really inspiring. Thank you, Mr. Sriram, for asking that long and then short question. So it was helpful. And I think this was what do they say? This was the best question, I must say that, because I think we all wanted to really get encouraged around that. And I think we are there. Time is up. That's it. Any one last question anyone has, you can raise your hand, unmute and ask, or else we'll call it a day in that case.
Yeah, sorry. I just have one for Ranjeeka. Hi,
Yes,
Ranjeeka. You did mention that you look for an experience while you're taking in a coach. So I may not have experience because I'm pretty new, but I'm very confident about my job. Then how does one go about it? How do I prove it to the organization?
So I think like we discussed earlier, while we haven't gotten into that situation as yet, it's about seeing how the chemistry works, how your experience will benefit to the organization. It's about discussing it out and trying it out and then taking it forward.
Wonderful. Yeah, and Payal, so there were thoughts like offer free sessions, make your clients interact with some of the coaches, create some testimonials quickly for yourself, right? And so that's
I'd like to say one thing over here.
Yeah,
I'm again repeating this point, please, for the benefit of everyone. You are an ACC or a PCC or an MCC coach. that itself is a testimony of the work that you have done.
Right.
Please do not undermine that. It is the experience that you carry with yourself.
Vivek, you have been to some motivational speech before this. It looks like
it looks like to me that people
you're really encouraging us a lot. Thank you so much for that. All right. So with that, friends, I think we'll call it a day. It is 8 o'clock. We are going to send you the recording of this session. And
Inderjeet, I have a question. Can you just make in 1 second?
Yes. Yeah. Go ahead.
In organization, who decides that we need coaching, HR or the leadership team? How the idea comes to an organization that we should have coaching?
Okay, this is a good question. Right. I think it's majorly comes from business, and also so now I think the way it is both. Even HR also can initiate that, and majorly comes from the business. Like when they see the need. That's Vivek and.
Because why I'm asking there, I mean, we need to approach companies who doesn't have coach. So maybe we need to look for some area where there is a virgin areas. That's why I'm asking this question.
So I like to add more to that, Mr. Tridip. Not only that, you can approach to companies who also have coaches because their budgets are increasing. So even if they have a coach, they need another coach now, right? So and it is actually better, like Vivek said. It is easier for you to go to an organization which is already using coaching.
Yes.
They're spending the budget, and then you can always, showcase them. And one question which got, kind of left unanswered which I wanted to ask was, how do we approach organizations who have not used coaching? So anyway, so maybe in some other webinar, we can talk about that. Or maybe let me just quickly ask all of you one sentence on that. How does a coach approach an organization who hasn't used coaching yet? Any thoughts?
It's a critical part, Inderjeet, because we've experienced that in the past, and like I think Mr. Krishnan mentioned that earlier, it was looked down upon, and then you saw the benefit of it. It's about showing the benefit to the organization, setting the right examples, and also many a times approaching it in a way that you inbuilt it, maybe a coaching culture as a part of the performance process. And so it's a question that is a right question. But I think it has right examples need to be set.
Right. So what you're saying is show them the benefits, educate them, give them some examples, show them the examples, let them connect with your customers. Right.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you. All right, friends. I think then that's a good thing. So with that, we will say bye to each other. Garima, I hope you have clicked pictures.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone. So see you in some other
Thank
forum.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.